Right, thank you so much for staying with us. We're going to be looking at something more subtle but very informative. SHEROES is a not-for-profit organization which started in Ireland with projects and programs on women and youth.
The organization is now coming to Nigeria as part of its expansion plan to Africa.
And so we will now be talking about the projects and programs of SHEROES and the launch in Nigeria.
Well, SHEROES, I think I like the name. Well, joining us at this time,
likes the name.
joining us at this time is Yemi Adenuga. She's the CEO, Energy in Motion, D Dimensions Communications, founder, president, SHEROES Global. Good to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Also joining us is an educationist, entrepreneur, and advocate for breast cancer, and current chairperson, Breast Cancer Association of Nigeria, Funmi Adefila-Osiegbu. Good to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, let's start by, understanding what SHEROES is about. What is SHEROES?
SHEROES. Okay. SHEROES originally started as a platform to celebrate women. Like I always say, sometimes women were our own worst enemies. Rather than lift ourselves, we don't celebrate ourselves enough, and we expect other people to celebrate us. So it started initially as a platform to celebrate women, and then it grew, and it became more of a project-based organization. So now we work with not just women, but with young people. Our projects are centered around helping people to have a reorientation. Young people, we want to try and help them begin to think about what they want to do with their future. So I said it is project-based. One of our major projects is the Exploring Options project. So we go to schools, we work with organizations, youth organizations, religious organizations. We help young people begin to think early about what they want to do, not when they're leaving secondary school and then they're stuck. They don't know what they want to do with the subjects. And we have ambassadors for all of our projects. One of our ambassadors is Funmi here, and she's working on our Boys to Men project. She's going to tell you a bit about that Boys to Men project later on. These projects are very dear to my heart. We have our SHEROES Entrepreneurship Academy. This is where we train women and young people to be entrepreneurs. We love to say we build entrepreneurs. And we have a model that we use in the academy to help people, we don't just empower, but we get them from that empowerment process onto actually becoming entrepreneurs.
How early do you begin to empower youths? I mean, you just talked about, youths going through school, and after secondary school, they are caught up, they don't even know what to do. Yes. Do you start from primary school, from kindergarten? Where exactly do you start?
Actually, no, we start from the minute they get into secondary school.
Okay.
Yes. Once they get into secondary school and they have to start making that choice as to what they want to do, and then we start working with them. So we get the idea of the exploring option is to start thinking. What do you want to do with yourself? Because it's not like we don't have career guidance in schools. We do. But how much do they do with the young people? How much do they help them? What we have is young people are told you either have to be a doctor, or a lawyer, an engineer, an accountant, the 4 basic expected professions. Times have changed. You're a footballer, that's a profession. You're a barber, that's a profession.
So you have to
be proud of it. It's about knowledge and skills acquisition. People are blessed with so many skills out there. So they have to explore those skills and use them. Not everyone will go to school. Not everyone is academic minded. So as much as we value being a doctor, we have to value being a carpenter, because we're sitting on the product of a carpenter. We have to appreciate that as well.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Initially, when I heard SHEROES, I thought it was gender specific. Your projects are directed at, girls and women directly. But I hear you say Funmi has a project, Boys to Men project.
Yes, she's a global ambassador. Right? We have several global ambassadors, and they look after our projects. Okay. So Funmi here is our global ambassador for the Boys to Men project. I'll let her talk about
let's hear about the Boys to Men project.
Okay, the Boys to Men project is it's the focus really is to reorientate our boys, to be responsible, to be more caring, and to be more focused. Because now we have so many issues going on with the boys. There's been too many women this, women that. So not trying to duplicate what other people are doing. Of course, SHEROES is also about empowering women, but we want to bring some kind of balance to the equation, because as we're empowering the girls, as we're making them better, we need, because we're also preparing them for the men. So it has to be balanced. The men also have to be able to understand where we're coming from, so that they will know it is not a competition. It's not about feminist initiative.
Yes.
It's about balance. It's about being complementary, and then have a better society with what we come up with.
So are you talking building character here?
Building character, because we've been having a lot of issues. I was discussing with her the other day, and I said, look, we're having a problem now because we're having more women getting more exposed. And the men are stuck with the ideology of 40, 50 years ago. There was a time there was no argument about it. The woman is either a teacher, a nurse, or have a small stall in front of the house. There's no contesting anything. But the same parents who did this have given their children equal opportunity to go to school and making them endowed the same way. Yes, the girl is physically not as strong as the boys, but mind-wise, they're also endowed. And now there's a lot of conflict going on because the guy is stuck. And the girl cannot understand why she has to be like her mother, who used to have a stall there. So we need to reorientate the boys to let them know, look, this is complementary. The exposure is supposed to bring some kind of growth to the society and not some kind of animosity like we're having now.
I'm actually curious to know the response, from the male folk. I mean, considering the fact that we live in a patriarchal society that may not necessarily understand where SHEROES is coming from.
Yes, I know. This is huge because I'll tell you, a lot of us are victims of tradition that has taken us nowhere. A lot of us are victims of religion that has taken us nowhere. But you see, if we keep quiet and let things continue to happen the way it's happening, you see, the agitation women are having is because they can't find expression for who they are. And once we're able to make the boys or the men understand this, and that's why we're catching them young, then they will begin to see that this is actually supposed to serve me, even as a man, and make us better.
Are they
as a
excited
society.
about the project?
Will make them excited.
Those
That is why it's a reorientation.
Yes, they feel that are. They feel that I mean, we're not sure about what you're
He's
doing.
looking, he's a man.
Yeah. Can I tell you?
I find this quite interesting because, you know why? I have folks who I discuss with, and I see posts as well people put on social media. I mean, in the generation we are, a lot of people would have expected the complementary thing Funmi is talking about, that the families are homes where the man expects that the woman shouldn't be working, irrespective of whether you have a PhD or not. Stay at home and do domestic chores. And the lack of or absence of a agreement on that has led to a lot of domestic conflict in most families. Because I'm thinking, is this thinking still a thinking that you think will still exist at this time with the generation now that are probably in their 10s or in their 12s, and the next 10 years we expect them to be family people?
Do you know what the problem we have, honestly, is how we have raised our children. Girls are raised to be ready to be wives. We were trained to be ready to be wives.
Is there something wrong with that?
There's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. But who are training the boys? I'm going to marry a man, right? I'm married to a man. Thank goodness his head is in the right place now, right? But who are the people raising the men? Boys are told, you shouldn't cry, you're a boy. You boys don't cry. Says who? They bottle up so much emotions and they get so locked up. When they explode, they start stabbing our girls. So the idea of this part of our project, the Boys to Men, is to start catching the boys young, telling them, it's okay to cry. I have two boys, I tell them cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. I want to see your emotions. Because when they cry, you know that they're connected as human beings. Aside from that, we want the boys to understand that it's okay to let people know how you feel. It's okay to be human. All we simply want to do is help groom good boys to be good men. A good boy would be a good husband. A good boy would be a good father. A good boy would be a good man in the society. So that's the whole idea. Let's keep a balance, not just have girls who are ready to be good wives. Let's have men. We're raising the boys to be ready for our girls when they grow up. So they are good men who are ready to be good husbands. There are lots of young boys out there today who don't want to get married because they're asking the young girls, who's your uncle? Who is your uncle a senator?
You know there's a very deep cultural component to
Absolutely.
this. To the patriarchal thing which my colleague talked about. And breaking through cultural barriers is a Herculean task. How do you intend to
That
somehow?
might be difficult with somebody like you. That's why we want to start with the young ones.
Absolutely.
so?
Start from the young.
You see, except you're open.
Yes.
Except you're open. If you're not open, you won't see. You know, yesterday I was somewhere and it was deliberate. I wanted to check out what these guys were thinking. They're young, probably in their 20s. And I saw so much aggression. Why won't my wife do this? Why won't my wife do that? And you know, by the time I was done with this guy, he kept quiet. And I said, look, your wife has gone to school. I think we should begin to understand that education liberates the mind. And she already has that. So when you begin to tell her something contrary, there's a conflict. And I said, look, if we know we want to remain in that patriarchal whatever you're saying, there would have been no need to send your girl child to school and give them that exposure, because what you don't know does not hurt you. But now that you have exposed the girl, she has expanded her mindset. So there's a huge conflict. And what I see happening is, like she said, I also have 2 boys and I have all brothers, and I'm honestly, I'm bothered because I want them to be confident. It does not matter who a woman turns out to become.
What should parents be doing? What kind of activities should they engage their children, irrespective of gender, right from the home front? Because we see a culture where the girl child is expected to be the one to cook, to sweep the house, to clean, to go to the market, while the boy goes out to play football, hang out with his friends, and we all know how that manifests in their, later on in their lives. What should homes be doing at this point in time?
We need to go back to the drawing board, because that cannot work anymore. And I tell you, it's the basis for domestic violence. You see, it's very difficult when you build some kind of mindset in people. It's difficult to break. But we can start from our homes, as a mother, as a father. Tell the boy to be involved in the chores. Because you know what? We are overtraining the woman. She's a good homemaker and she's a good chairman of board. So the guy, where does this leave the guy? So he's angry at you that you can do so much. And he's stabbing the woman out of frustration and anger. These are things we want to curb by telling them, look, these things are supposed to help us grow together, make us a better society. It is complementary. It's not supposed to harm us. It is not supposed to cause any form of animosity.
All right. The program is going to be launched?
Yes.
When?
We're launching this Friday in Lagos at the Shiba Event Center from 6 p.m. Red carpets from 6 p.m. And officially we'll come to Nigeria. The project's already running in Nigeria, but officially we're going to launch this Friday, the 23rd of March. And we're so excited about it.
All right, thank you so much. I was actually curious before we began the interview and asked you what SHEROES actually meant, and you said it's the female.
It's like when you think heroes, yes, so the female version SHEROES, and we have super SHEROES. These are the people who run the project.
You took some literary license there. Thank you so much, Funmi, Yemi. Pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, time now to bring you on your own with Muyiwa Afolabi. Just stay with us.
160 million people, the most populous black nation, and 9th in the world.